Hey, yo, peace and love. What up? This is Homeboy Sandman, and I'm on Fly Fidelity right now, talking about my new record, Still Champion, dropping 11/11/22. It's 33 minutes long. Peace.
First I say, what we're gonna do. Then you say, I don't know, what do you want to do? What we're gonna do, what you want to do.
I have an idea.
You're gonna dig this.
The Fly Fidelity Podcast
Is the solution. It's the best.
Check it out.
You want to get super fly.
Details just ahead.
Do you love credible content, but hate?
How long you have to wait?
And who wants
super thick and frothy dumpster juice with rat corpses in it?
There's a better way.
Fly Fidelity.
Fly Fidelity.
Fly Fidelity.
Fly Fidelity.
Fly Fidelity.
Fidelity.
Fly Fidelity Podcast.
Fly Fidelity, baby. Fidelity, baby. Fidelity.
With your host, Luke Bailey.
Fly Fidelity. This week we're joined by the foremost expert of his craft, Homeboy Sandman, to discuss and premiere songs from his forthcoming album with Decca, Still Champion. Enjoy the conversation.
Yo, the fresh air fund is like a swear jar for me. And you. That could lock me in the room with a beat. The type to set a mood to get you moving your feet. We're similar but different like a clue in a lead. We're similar but different like a low in the train. Not playing if I was, I would be playing for keeps. Not playing if I was, I would be taking the lead. I skipped the prime meridian without enough sleep. There's way too many Indians and not enough chicks. I'm only gonna be living for a limited time. Depending who you are, you think I have a criminal mind. I whip the station wagon in the heat of the night. But if you're lollygagging, then I'm passing the right. Even my hecklers be checking the rhyme. My force of habit, yo, I'm having me a heck of a time. So front and center before I sing to the back of the line. For looking cross-eyed at the God cipher divine. I found a penny being petty, I don't know where from. That's a penny for the fresh air fund. I found a nickel being fickle, chilling nowhere fun. That's a nickel for the fresh air fund. I found a quarter on the corner, out of nowhere it come. That's a quarter for the fresh air fund. I found $1 trying to holler, I was almost done. That's $1 for the fresh air fund.
I feel like you're in total harmony this time around between sharing a moment inside of yourself and holding a moment of other people outside of you.
That's an interesting way to put it. Let me think about it. Holding a moment inside of me, which I definitely, I feel like I'm in touch with myself. I'm very grateful to feel like I'm in touch with myself. I felt like I was in touch with myself before and find out later on that I wasn't. So, can never be too sure, but I definitely feel in touch with myself now. So the moment inside, I think. And then the second part you said, holding a moment with people outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is that like? Being in touch with folks?
Yeah, I believe the same way this was very much a healing process for you. I feel that this is working the same way in turn for people as well. You're encouraging people to grow.
Okay, I understand. Yeah. Okay, I understand better. Yeah, I would like for my records to be purposeful and to be service. I want to be of service. You know what I mean? I do feel a great deal of gratitude, to God for empowering me and allowing me, to move, through the universe the way that I do. And I want to, share whatever it is, that I feel may be of any use. I feel it's something that I want to, share through my artwork, because it is those two sides. It's for me, and if it's going to be for anyone else, I would like it to be productive for them.
There seems to be this through line in terms of this emotional weight on this project and this feeling of lightness within this content. Can you speak to any standout memories as a growing period that contribute a clarity to the themes and ideas on this project?
Get Yours, I wrote when I was in a state of grace. I'm in a state of grace now, but I was particularly in tune and, you know, and, 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 determined that I wanted to write completely optimistically, you know, and a lot of records, even something like, you know, even something like saying, um, you know, there's a thing that I think is whack, you know. I think music about killing people is whack, you know. I think I think music that comes out about killing and violence is horrible and sad. Like I want to say that. I say that a lot, you know. I say a lot of the time how uh how how psychotic and how sick that people pass around music that talks about killing and hating, you know, how sad, you know, that people think that this is something to be shared and praised and glorified. This is, you know, I do that and I have music about that, but in this particular time I was like, yo, I don't even want to mention things I don't like. I just want to always mention things I do like. I want to just pure optimism. I don't want to even, I just want to focus completely on everything that's beautiful and good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
That was a moment. That was a couple of day period that I was in when I wrote that song. I remember that. I remember I wrote two songs during that time. I wrote that song and I wrote a song called It's All Great, which isn't on this album, but a video we did a video for It's All Great that was released. And the two songs are very similar um with that energy, you know. If I think about, you know, if I think about the rest of the, you know, I wrote my verse for News to Me and the hook while I was actually walking the Deckers. I was walking from my spot in Brooklyn to his spot in Manhattan. I take long walks. Yesterday I walked to Madison Square Garden and I saw the Lomachenko fight versus Ortiz. Decca was with me actually, my boy Donovan Cass. A bunch of us went and saw the fight, but that was a 3.5 hour walk, and I wrote a verse. I wrote a verse called Therapy. There's a track called Therapy that I wrote on the way. But I take these long walks, and I wrote News to Me, featuring Decca and Randy Mason. Um, on that walk, I remember that was a really beautiful day. Those are some of the memories that come to me.
Let go of everything. Let go of everyone. I hit stairs and right. I'm still through jump scares. Where's the fright? The fright got fought, then lost and left. I don't think death ain't lost unless you still fear death when death arrives. The insults against death are lies. I don't claim groups, I have the right. This is the truth I have surmised. Don't go telling me I'm a race. Get that nonsense out of my face. Don't come any closer or get on my case. My only culture is the one I make. My only people are the ones I claim. That is everyone, by the way. Now there's a few decisions for your mind to make. So come and say hi or hide away. Slide out the wedding ring. Ride into the setting sun. Let go of everything. Let go of everyone. Hide away heaven sing. Bye bye to what's said done. Let go of everything. Let go of everything.
Going back to the track Let Go, it's an interesting song for everything you're talking about, for everything you're saying about shedding old habits and unlearning. Is there a single lesson that was the toughest to unlearn making this album?
Good question. Good question. You know, I think the track Let Go. I don't know if there was a single lesson, but if I had to try to put into a single sentence, you know, what that song is about and what I think is the lesson that I um learn and I'm learning and was learning that led to that is a do not feel confined, do not feel constricted by anything. Do not feel confined, constricted by fear at all. Do not worry that you need to continue to do a thing, because if you don't do it, you're not going to have medical insurance. Let go. That's a lie somebody told you. Do not feel that you need to conform to an identity of any sort because somebody told you this is how you be a man. This is how you be black. This is how you be hip hop. You don't need to be enough anything for anybody. You don't need to do that. You need to seek your bliss. You need to, there's so many restrictions and confinements that I felt throughout my life that people feel. They're afraid somebody's going to laugh at them. They're afraid somebody's going to disagree with them or something like that, or however they get viewed. And it constricts us from finding we are unique beings. We're all unique. We got unique energy. We got unique thoughts and ideas. The conformity, let go of the conformity. Let go of the conformity. So I wouldn't, let go of the conformity whenever you can, wherever you can. You know what I mean? Don't disagree. I'm not saying disagree to disagree.
Right.
But if you disagree, feel free to disagree. You know what I'm saying? Feel free to disagree. Yeah. I guess that's the lesson there. Feel free, because that's you. And that's me. And I want to see, I'm tired of being around a bunch of people that are all trying to act like the same person. It's boring. You know what I mean? I would like to be around people that are being themselves. It would be when I'm around people like that, it's more interesting. It's more exciting. It's, people that are being themselves are interesting. They're not just trying to adhere to a mold as much as they possibly can, because a lot of, and I'm not talking about any of this stuff as if I haven't experienced it and still do experience it myself. Right. But I want to break away from, I find value from adhering to a model as closely as possible. I'm the quintessential what people expect me to be, because people seek to be that. I have for me, it did not feed the soul. But what feeds the soul for me is to explore myself and become as comfortable with myself as possible. Let go of conformity.
It feels like there's an elevation in terms of your emotional availability on this project. Was there a catalyst or a moment that helped you open up as much as you have to this emotional availability in these lyrics?
I've been on a journey. My last 5-6 records, I mean, my whole career really, but, particularly starting with, Dusty, which was my low point, which was my rock bottom, my spiritual rock bottom. Dusty was the pinnacle of my, let me try to be the best at being what I've been told I'm supposed to be. You know what I mean? And the pain that caused me in my life, and the disease and the unhealthiness that brought into me, and the instability, and then moving on to Don't Feed the Monster, which was, finally facing myself and facing things. And then, the whole, the most previous releases is they're in spirit, you know what I mean? I've been on a journey, I've been on a journey of art. I want my art to be pure, and I want my art to really, really matter for real. You know what I mean? Like there's, like I realize that I'm blessed. I'm blessed. People hear my art, and it resonates with them. It connects with them, and the same. It's important. You know what I mean? It's powerful. It can help. You know what I mean? It's something that I'm capable of doing. It's a process that God involves me in. You know what I mean? I spent a lot of time distracted. Oh, I want everybody to know that I'm the nicest. That's ego. Oh, I want to be mad. No, I need everybody to know me in the world. I need this type of notoriety. You know this is. I spent a lot of time on that. I've been rapping 15 years, I've been rapping 15 years, 16 years. So I got to realize what that there's no real reward. There's no real rewards there for me. There's no real rewards. The real rewards is in actually contributing to the universe and contributing to the lives of people that take the time to listen to my art in a positive way. That's the real reward. Like, the experience has been 15 years of trial and error of, oh, I love doing this. I do this every day. I love doing this. What is the right use for this?
Consistent growth, consistently chiseling away. You've been at this for a long time, and it's not rare that, they say that you never get a second chance to make a first impression. It feels like you kind of did that with this album to some degree. There's been a consistent elevation to the point where it feels like this might be your crown jewel, in my opinion. This might be your most definitive, and this is your moment of clarity, in my opinion. This is the highest of your craft, in my opinion, as a fan, of course.
I think you could be. This is a special record, I it's a very special. Yeah, it's you never. I mean, I don't. I'm I'm a human being that's changing. I'm not a. There's all this brand stuff. How sad. How sad. A brand? How sad. I'm a person. You know what I mean? I'm a human being, and how sad that artists come out talk about branding. To me, this is sad. To me, it's sick. You want to make human beings into brands. Tide is a brand. Crest is a brand. You know what I'm saying? Human beings change. We grow. If human beings don't grow, we die. You know what I'm saying? Even if we're alive, we dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't no brand at all. I'm always making a first impression. I'm different this month than I was last month, and this record than I was last record. But as far as where I am right now, like, I kind of feel more faith and more connection and more power and more confidence possibly than I ever have, and definitely in a long time. But even in 2010, I put out a record called The Good Son, and I felt really, really, really strong. But there was so much that I didn't know, and I hadn't faced all these toxic things in myself. You know what I mean? And I had so much to learn about myself, and I'm sure that I still do. But being able to have the connection to God that I had at that time, but also be in touch with my dark side and having overcome it. Yeah, I feel like this is the pinnacle so far.
I feel like discomfort is very much a part of this album's fabric. How important would you say discomfort is in your creative routine as a way to not stay stagnant and grow?
I mean, I like being comfortable, but I don't feel, the thing is we got, I have choices that I have to make all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was writing this record with Decca, and by the way, I love Decca's music and I love his production, obviously, and he rhymes on it. He's amazing. And his record Smoking Gun this year was my favorite album of this year. And Decca and I, we did a tour. We did a 19 city tour early this year, and we've been working on this record, and it's been an interesting time. This year with tours starting to open up again. We've been building since last year, and going just through this situation of being the outliers, people that didn't see things the way everybody else saw them. You know what I mean? And people that needed to make a choice. Like, we want to tour, but we don't want to do anything that we don't feel is right. We want to rap, but we don't want to not say things that we think are important because it's going to upset people. You know what I mean? So there's discomfort when you have to make choices, because I get put in situations. I don't think discomfort is a bad thing. I like comfort. I like it, but I can't make my decisions to be comfortable. I need to make my decisions to do what I feel is right, and then God will reward me with comfort until it's time for the next discomfort. But comfort is not so important to me that it's more important than doing what I know that I should do, representing what I know I should represent, being honest the way that I know that that it should be. So I'm cool with comfort, but I do not fear discomfort at all. As part of the process.
You recognize that they both need to exist in order to work the way they're supposed to work.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is a purpose. Yeah, they definitely serve. Discomfort serves a purpose. There's a phrase: get comfortable being uncomfortable, or get out of your comfort zone. I don't want to stay in my comfort zone. I like being comfortable, but if I gotta leave, I want to dart right out.
Absolutely. What's the magic between the two of you? What is it about Decca's production that helped you to process and write your feelings in a way that I wouldn't say you couldn't write back then, but you might not have been ready to write back in the past?
Yeah, I wasn't ready. But, as far as his production, the production isn't even, the most, the most complex production, it's just so much, it just feels like all Gil Scott Heron samples, just all like soul, but and the tones, it's like meditation Gil Scott Heron music. You know what I mean? Like the production almost reminds me of like the type of thing that you hit an instrumental like in some yoga class or something like that, but then if you added some drums to it and you gave it some swing and you gave it some warmth, you know what I mean?
There's a warmth to it. There's a real warmth to this project sonically.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, he does his own beats for his own record, and he's able to capture, I actually I think of him in a similar way, production wise. And I've been doing these projects, these single producer projects for a while, but the previous one that I did with Illingsworth, I think Illingsworth is a producer that has amazing range, like can just do so many things, can make beats that sound like this, beats that sound like this, Decca, all his beats to me sound like Decca beats. He's almost similar to Quelle in that way. Like Quelle's beats are Quelle beats, Decca's beats are Decca's beats. Illingworth, he could do anything in a production tip, but these are all amazing producers. But what I'm saying is what it is that Decca can do, what it is that he does, I guess, let me step back. Illingsworth can do everything, since I brought up these three dudes. He can do everything except he can't do what Quelle can do. Quelle can do what Quelle does, and can't nobody else do it. He can't do everything, though. He does what Quelle does. Decca can't do everything. He can do what Decca does. Illingsworth can do everything except what Decca and Quelle do. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that, that frequency that Decca is just so tapped into, whether he's rapping or producing, which is a soul full of warmth, and it just kind of moves it along. It's just an energy. I loved it on his records. I was super happy I'm super happy to be able to. It adds so much. It adds so much to my art. I mean, what a blessing to be granted access to it to write rhymes to.
You're talking about a specific singularity when we hear these producers, when we listen to Decca.
Yeah. It's a specific. It's a. But many of the great producers, people take Primo. Primo's got the Primo. That's a Primo beat. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, cooking now, all I see is possibility. When I look around, all I feel is positivity. The light inside is shining, look inside and you'll agree. The lightning in the bottle be the following the dreams. I'm as high as Denver, Colorado, cause I'm free. I believe with every bit of oxygen I breathe. I could do what no one's ever done because I'm me. You can do what no one's ever done because you're you. Intuition over reason, every dream is coming true. Mindfulness of what we think and what we say, we stay in tune. Reveal to everybody they can do it too. I'm in the mood for making moves. Up to something, feeling summoned by the sun and moon. Higher school and here's a scoop from in my human suit. New edition mean the summer's coming soon. I know that miracles are on deck as a way of life, so I got a lot of content. Each array of light, everything is constant. Perpetually, everything is God sent, be it day and night. Trust that it's all about me, and all about you, and all about us. It's all about heart, it's all about guts, it's all about times, it's all about plus.
The experience of the past, my artistic experience, my expressive experience, my creative experience of the past is always in mind with me. Whether it's something simple from, have I ever said a line that sounds like this line before? Because I don't want to do that. To is the way this rhyme is making me feel. Sometimes I'll be writing a rhyme and I'll get a feeling of anger. I'll get a feeling of some type of feeling of ferocity or something like that. And there was a time when I thought to myself, oh, this is good. This is a fire. You know what I mean? I wanna share this. I'm gonna, all powerful energy is useful, and I put records out that I thought to myself, maybe I could have sat with those longer, So whether it's something from thinking of a line to assessing an energy and the usefulness of an energy towards a song or a project or a line, or even the creative process. All the experience is the experience of 15 years is it's paramount, critical, crucial.
Can you give me an example of a song or an album where you had to, you maybe felt you should have sat with it longer?
I mean, I already meant, it's not even that I felt, I said, I maybe I said should have, but I really meant to say could have.
Right.
Because I don't, I mentioned Dusty earlier, but Dusty was part of my journey. You know what I mean? And I'm, there's music on Kindness for Weakness, and I don't, some of these, there's music on Kindness for Weakness that Kindness for Weakness there was a specific set of circumstances that led to the creation of that record. And I don't feel the record is without merit, and I don't feel Dusty is without merit. I mean, I think Noteworthy is, I love the writing on Noteworthy, and Name is a jam to me. I love Name. I love Always, like, I'm not talking about these records being without merit, but the express, it's all part of my journey and everything happens correctly. But I don't want for Dusty to be the first record that people hear for me. I don't want that to be the first that a young person or any person, but I don't want my nephew to be influenced by my depiction of women on Dusty. I don't want that. I don't want my nephew to be influenced by the value I'm putting on money in Dusty. I don't want that. You know what I mean? Well, I brought up and I could go through other, even from, Humble Pie. I mean, if I really think about it, there's I'm sure I could come up with a lot of examples, on Kindness for Weakness. It was more, how things came together and the reason why I choose certain songs and make certain projects. I'll openly say that I had a great touring opportunity coming up, and I wanted to have a release. So it wasn't organic. It wasn't like I made all those songs. I had all those songs, but it wasn't organic. And I learned, don't ever do that. Don't ever force it, because it don't sound the same. It might even sound good, and the songs might be good. You wrote the songs, but a project that's created as a project is different than a Frankensteinian project. You know what I'm saying? But this is all, I know these things. Some people, that's their favorite record,
Yeah.
But to me, it's not my favorite because it lacks something. You know what I mean? And I believe it's perceivable, to many of the people tapped into my frequency. And I could probably talk about 5 or 10 records, that I've just learned things from. But, if I'm not in the right, but it's all part of the journey, though. It really is.
Walk me through your writing process. Do you actively take notes and mark things down for later use? Are you constantly connecting, swirling sentences in your head all day?
Not really. I don't really write stuff down. From time to time, like seldom, I'll think of something that I'm like, oh, that would be great in a rhyme. But I seldom write it down. If I remember it later, I might try to institute it, or start something off with it, or bring it in someplace. But more so than that, the yesterday when I was walking to Madison Square Garden, I was just going through beats in my phone and trying to see if any of them caught. Nothing was really catching. So I put on a jam by Tom Caruana, featuring Willie Evans Jr. Tom Caruana is a producer. So it's a Willie Evans Jr. rhyming on the track. What's it called? I think it's called Sandbox Veteran. And I listened to it about 10 times. And it's such a fly track, but a great beat. Willie Evans Jr. is great. Right before that, I had actually listened to a track with Mega Ran, Novelist, and Substantial. I forgot what it was called. And I was feeling that, but once I listened to the Willie Evans joint, bang, that locked me in, and it kind of got me in a zone that I wanted to be in. You know what I mean? Then I went back and I found a mono and stereo beat that I just kind of took the energy that Willie transferred to me, through that track, and ran it through my frame, you know what I mean? And I feel art is that way. I mean, I feel art is transference, it's energy transference, and I'm always writing it. What happened yesterday where because yesterday I definitely felt transference of Willie to me, not even, stylistically or anything like that, but just in terms of the frequency of the track, the energy of the track. That's not, I mean, that's the exception of how I generally do. Like, I generally just put on beats and see what catches. And then just once something catches, I just write it. It has to do with how I'm feeling that day and how everything's going. There was a period recently that I didn't write for a couple of weeks. Then a cat shouted me out for a verse. I listened to the beat. I like the beat. That kind of got me jump started. And then I've been writing for a couple of weeks every day. But it depends a lot on the beat and where the beat puts me. And I'll just, I got a beat stash that is abundant. I got an abundance of beats, and I'll just go through them and see what resonates with me on that day. And but I'm grateful that if nothing's catching, I could go listen to a Willie Evans or a Decca, you know what I mean, or any multitude of the great artists that they're all, and get a little jump start.
You mentioned a couple of weeks ago not writing for whatever reasons. Does that tend to happen because of just inspiration, or is that writer's block? What usually is the reason behind that when you're not writing?
I kind of feel in this particular case, I'm not exactly sure, because who knows how I really work. I don't really understand myself.
That's the magic in the process, though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think just the fact that I was on the road, for about a month and a half, you know what I mean? And was writing a lot when I first got on the road, but then kind of started just focusing on being on the road. And then when I came back, I just, it had kind of my momentum of writing every day had just kind of, I had lost some of the writing every day momentum. It's just part of my lifestyle. And so I was just taking some time to maybe just rejuice or something like that, or but now I'm back in the mix.
Well, let's talk about Decca pushing you for this project. How did Source Code come about with Decca and Randy Mason?
Well, Source Code is the one with just Decca. News to Me is the one with Decca and Randy.
Got it.
Source Code, I actually didn't even know. I thought that might be something for him when he sent it to me. But because he sent it to me with his verse, and I loved it. I was like, I love the beat. I love his verse. More a spiral than a Ferris wheel. How he comes back to it. What amazing things he says. I also got to give a big shout to Decca because, like some of the frequency that I'm on in this record, or a lot of it, is really what he raps about is important always. He don't deviate from importance. He don't. you know, and that inspired me not to deviate from importance. You know what I mean? Like he don't deviate to have a couple of lines about how he the best rapper or how, you know, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Or any number of things, you know, even less meaningful than that. Um, so you know, he was a big influence on me in that regard. And then also so source code, but of course, you know, the message is freedom, you know what I mean? And the message is spirit, you know what I mean? And I got right to it. I got right to that one because I loved his verse so much. And it was only after, because this was one of the, was it the time that it was, I wasn't sure if it was for him or for me because we had already started doing joints. But I went over there thinking it was going to be for him over there. We recorded all at his studio, and I said, "Is this for you?" He said, "Nah, this is for your joint." I said, "Yes, thank goodness." You know what I mean? Because that joint is a knocker. You know, he got John Wind on his joint, which is another knocker with both of them.
Crazy. You talked about Decca not wasting any words, and I feel like the same could be said for this project in your space creatively. It's very intentional, like you said, and you've been fortunate to be in a space where your fans have offered you patience and a space to make mistakes. Can you talk about All Because of You as a turning point in terms of growth and your intentions to encourage your listeners to heal with you?
Yeah, you know, it's crazy when you talk about All Because You, because I'm in love. You know what I mean? All Because of You is about my love, Tati, who's the love of my life, who you know, who I've known for 16 years, but we've only you know, gotten together in the way that we're supposed to be in the last couple of years. And when you ask me, is there like a specific thing? It didn't even occur to me, and that has been such a major development in my life. You know, my whole life, you know, my romantic relationships have been a real zoo, you know, in different ways, and and you know, love, man, you know, love is so yes, the answer to the question from 10 questions ago about has it been a specific thing that really helped get me to where this album is, definitely love, definitely being in love, you know. And all because of you, I was falling in love, you know what I mean? And Decca was right there. And I don't, you know, I don't believe in coincidence, you know, like at the time I was falling in love and needed the sound of what falling in love is like for me. Decca was right there, you know what I mean? And that was the birth of this album.
Do you think that growing older, do you think that's giving you an increased sense of urgency about creating?
Mm, I don't really think so. I've always felt a sense of urgency about creating, um, because you know I've always been kind of a you know addicted to creating. You know what I mean? It fuels me and feeds me in a way that you know that couple of week period where I wasn't writing. That was probably the longest period in 15 or 16 years that I was able to go that long without feeling really uncomfortable. And I was actually thinking to myself, oh, okay, maybe I've come to a point where I don't need to be addicted to writing anymore. And then as soon as I wrote, I've been writing every single day since. But 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 as far as you know, getting older, I mean, I'm gonna die. You know what I mean? It could be later today. I don't look at death the same way that it seems like a lot of people do. I don't think it's a bad thing or nothing. I mean, I think it's a good thing, you know, because you know, it's part of the journey that God has put me on, put everybody on. You know, I don't fear of death doesn't even seem to me to be rational in any way. You know, I mean, I like living. I'm not trying to die or whatever, but it's kind of like the thing I said before. You know, like I like one. I could die for any number of reasons, but I'm definitely not here trying to keep myself alive. I mean, I'm trying to do what I'm supposed to do. You know, and I know at one point I'm gonna die. whether it be, tied into doing what I'm supposed to do or something else. I don't know, but it's fine. So I've never felt like, I'm running out of time. Like, I know that I'm going to be given exactly the amount of time I need. I know that as long as I seek to, use my time productively, I have a lot of faith that, because I'm doing my part, I have a lot of faith that as long as I continue to do my part, everything's going to turn out the way it's supposed to turn out. So I don't feel a whole great deal of urgency anymore, because I'm getting older.
Right. What's going on? If you are still listening to this episode and enjoying the podcast, why not become a patron of Fly Fidelity at patreon.com/flyfidelity. Becoming a patron means you are directly supporting our show and helping us to create a new episode each and every week. It also means that as a thank you for being a super supporter, you'll be able to access exclusive content to you, including patron updates, offers and discounts, a monthly secret podcast, early access, and so much more. We're navigating this crazy and critical place in history where there's an interesting dichotomy between what it means to be a human and what it means to be an artist in times of this crisis. How do you strike a balance between staying out with the hysterics that are dominating this moment and focusing on the bigger issues rather than the little ones?
I don't get involved. I'm not online. You know what I mean? I don't. It's crazy, Luke. Like, it's crazy, B. To know what everybody's gonna say before they say it. It's crazy to watch people be programmed like computers are programmed. Like, it's crazy to watch people's views be inserted into them. It's crazy to watch. But to me, it is, and maybe it's because I'm not, I don't know. I'm focusing on reality. That is my reality, the reality that is around me, the people that I meet, the people that I see, I'm focused on reality, there's definitely enough for me to do in reality to keep me occupied, but it's so like, so the answer is I don't get involved in it. I don't get distracted by it. It's so obvious to me that distraction is the goal. Keep people distracted. They will not empower themselves. They will, I read a lot. I don't read a lot because I love reading. I read a lot. Well, I do love reading, but but that's not the reason that I read a lot. The reason I read a lot is because I have time to read. I have time to read and I want to be productive with my time. And so I read a lot. But reading about psychology, reading about history, reading about makes so many things so clear. But people don't read. Why don't they read? They don't have time to read. They're more worried about what's going to happen if they don't spend their whole life doing something that they would never be doing if they weren't getting paid for it. They're afraid. People don't read because they're online. People look at their phones and it tells them on their phone how much time they spent on it per day last week. And it be saying 4 hours a day, babe. It be saying 5 hours a day, babe. 4 hours a day, that's 2 waking days a week, babe. That's crazy. Subtracting 2 waking days. This is crazy, but we're saying crazy, but we don't really recognize how crazy it is because everybody's doing it. They're not getting the momentum going on their idea. You got to think. You got to contemplate. You got to think, what did I do yesterday that I could do better today? Why did I feel this way? Contemplation is essential. Respect your body because your body is a temple. People are not contemplating if they can't go 5 minutes without looking at their phone. They're not getting the ball rolling. This is purposeful. I don't get involved in it. I don't get involved in lies. I don't get involved in deception. It does not serve me. I want to maximize on this life that I've been given, and I'm not going to waste my time with distraction and triviality.
What you've been able to do with this album is filter the narrative between perception and reality. Can you talk about that? I feel like there's this big underlying theme that runs through this album.
Yeah. I like that. I haven't heard it put that way, but I like that. Yeah, they're you know, I guess I've kind of touched on it a couple of times, and I was touching on identity, and I was touching on, you know, I talked about how yesterday I was at the fight, Lomachenko versus Ortiz, right? Ortiz is of Puerto Rican descent. Lomachenko's of Ukrainian descent. I was there with a Puerto Rican, and I was there with somebody who identifies as Puerto Rican. Two people identify as Puerto Rican. One was rooting for Lomachenko. The other one got the nerve to turn around to him and say, "How can you root for Lomachenko instead of the Puerto Rican? You got to just root for the Puerto Rican." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you're locked into this identity. You don't have a choice between who you get to root for in this fight. You got to root from the guy that got the same flag, grew up waving the same flag you grew up waving. You know what I mean? And that make, you know, these things happen all the time, but that just happened yesterday. It's fresh in my mind. But that's not reality. Reality is love. Reality is freedom. People think we ain't free. We free. We could let go at any time. Reality is freedom. I want to talk about that on this record. Everybody, the people have been so scared, and people are so scared, and they talk about it all the time. We ain't got nothing to be afraid of. But I already talked about how I don't look at death the same way, because I believe in God. Because everybody afraid to die. And if you was afraid to die, I don't know what to tell you, you know. But the reality is, we're free. You know, I think that the reason that this record is, you know, having that dichotomy or making that separation between the perception of lack of freedom and all this impending doom or whatever, and the reality that everything is beautiful and love is the answer and love is all around, is because I'm getting there. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get there, and I'm getting closer. You know what I mean? And I'm working on it every single day. You know what I mean? And that's why it's in this record, you know, because all this sadness and all this division, it ain't serving nobody, man. It ain't serving nobody. And you could normalize anything, you know, like so many people are doing crazy things because it's normal, and they look around and they see that everybody else is doing it as if, I mean, that's perception. You perceive other people. The reality is, we could determine what is correct. We do not need everybody else to tell us. We can determine what is correct. You know what I'm saying? Like everything, you know, slavery was normal, babe. You know what I mean? People was owning slaves. What, you know, like they still have slavery. You know that there's a country in Africa, what's it called? It starts with an M. I just read this book called Disposable People, talking about, I mean, slavery's still everywhere. People will mistreat anybody they get a chance to mistreat. It's not a color thing. It's not a money thing. People will generally mistreat anyone they could get away with mistreating. It just so happens that some people can mistreat more people than other people. You know what I'm saying? But nobody's upset at the fact that everybody will mistreat whoever they can mistreat. They're upset at the fact that it's not fair that some people get to mistreat more people than others. This is sick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's reality is, it's not a money thing. It's not a color thing. It's a lack of love thing. Love will heal all that. God will heal all that.
Yo, I lived in a lot of different hoods I call home. Made lots of different observations. When I walk around my hood, I see smiles, different styles, people getting loud, inches turn to miles, hungry mouths. What up, money buddy pal? People under crowns, people under clouds, people round, people running wild. When I walk around my hood, I see dogs, cats, birds, people going to work. They'll do that and worse for the last word, might have heard. Lots of people wallowing in hurt, lots of people following the herd. When I walk around my hood, I see fat burners on brick walls, ass fat burn, fast learners that break laws, block regulars in the same place on different days, Latter-day Saints catching rays. When I walk around my hood, I see tree-lined davs, weeds and grass, fast cash and weed, trees, grass, yeah. Seen a kid holding a wheelie on a bike without a front tire while wearing a backpack, sneakers on a black wire. Elmhurst, satellite, sunset, satellite, lower east, satellite, 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 uptown, satellite, sunny side, satellite, sunfin, satellite.
It's a bridge throughout this album. It's a constant throughout this album. And you talk about, you know, the influence of people on satellite, you know, from seeing people on your trips, walking through whatever neighborhood. Can you talk to the inspiration behind that track, specifically Satellite?
Yeah. You know, I've touched on the walks that I take, and you know that the video for that is going to come out. It's going to be out by the time this comes out. And I walked 30 miles, man. I walked longer than the marathon. I walked from Brooklyn into Queens into the Bronx into Manhattan back into Brooklyn. But I love taking walks. You know, there's so much to see in New York City. There's so much energy. I mean, the place is a safari, you know, so many different neighborhoods. And, you know, it was kind of, there's a track I did in 2014 called Stroll on an album called Hallways, which is is a similar track in that it's about, you know, I walk around. I love to walk around and what do I see? But I wanted to, you know, given that just walking around and observing, you know, the world around me, you know, is something that I do all the time. I wanted to kind of revisit the concept. I wanted to revisit the concept, but add to it. I wanted to just give us some more depth and a little bit more richness, which I feel like I was able to do with Satellite. You know, give a little bit more. I feel like the way that I've said it before, that, you know, I feel like Stroll was kind of everything I see. But Satellite is not only what I see, it's kind of like what I see means, you know, and even a little bit of trying to provide some insight on the things that I see, you know. So it's another layer, you know what I mean? But I do love that track.
I love that. Love that. Were there any songs that you recorded for this album in mind that didn't make inclusion for whatever reasons, maybe philosophically or tonally, they didn't work out?
No. Once we had 8, because I was writing for it, you know what I mean? So I'm able to, and you know, you asked me earlier about my writing process. I guess just from an efficiency standpoint, you know, like I don't put anything on the paper if I don't, by the time it gets to the paper, it's very seldom that I write something down that gets switched, you know, because I do that all in my head. You know what I mean? Like if I write it down, it's because it's good to go, you know, and the same, you know, having an idea, having an energy for this album, I was able to kind of use it as a beacon the entire time. So there wasn't anything that I was only recording and writing things that I knew were going to adhere to it.
Where do you think you've grown the most stylistically as an MC, as an artist?
Stylistically, like technically, like sound wise?
Yeah.
Question. No answer really jumps out. I do think that earlier in my rhyming, you know, I guess when I first started out, it was very important to me to always have a rhythm going on that was kind of something in itself, you know, but you know, like a you know, like a melody that was something in itself. Like you'd be able to hear the music even if I did it a cappella. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Later on, it became important to me to leave that and to leave more space and to have more, you know, it became important to me to allow more room for breathing. You know what I mean? And now, I guess if I have to say it, where I've grown, it's that none of that stuff is conscious anymore. I definitely, but can I really say that now? I can't really say that either, because it wasn't always conscious then. I don't know how to answer that question. You know, I mean, all I can say is at this point, I have a great deal of trust. I just have a great deal of trust in the process, and I have a great deal of trust that what comes to me and feels right is the right thing. You know, yeah.
And what about the future? What comes next for Homeboy Sandman after this project? You mentioned visuals coming out. What's next?
Yeah, there's some visuals coming out. You know, I got an album release show on Thursday, and I'm rocking with Count Bass D in Massachusetts on Saturday. Dope. And you know, I got a Florida tour. I'm gonna be back in Europe in February, and I might be in South Africa in March.
Wow.
Discussing that, and yeah, got some great things. I've got a lot of shows coming up, and you know, oh, by the way, you know, I'm not online, but I got an email list. Anybody wants to be up on what's going on with me, just email homeboysandman@gmail.com. I'll add them to my email list. I also got a patreon.com Homeboy Sandman, and I put joints up there. You know, those are two good ways to keep in touch with what's going on with me. But as far as what's next for me, man, my lady's about to get home. Maybe we'll watch a movie. You know, I've been working out at the gym a lot. You know, I joined the Harbor Fitness, and you know, that's what's happening next. You know, I'm excited about what I'm gonna write to tomorrow. I finished the round today. My boy Gam gets back from one of his, you know, gallivanting around the world, you know, missions in a couple of days, and I'm gonna get back in studio and bust out a few joints with him. You know, like I take it day by day, but that's what's next.
There it is. Homeboy Sandman, I want to thank you for your time talking to us on this podcast. You've been very generous with your time, man. I hope this album does everything it needs to do, because it's one of my favorites this year.
No doubt. Thanks so much. I'm certain that it will. And thanks for the help spreading the word, Luke. Good to catch up. Be well.
Art for you for me, constantly producing energy. For reading every book that's on my shelf. Yes, till death, get ready, get set. I miss you, not believe, truthfully. Anything we try is gonna work. Heaven is a parallel of earth. There will always be a way. Time for a leap of faith, piece of cake, true and living, giving it the world. All I ever promised was the world, paying the price to have brighter ideas. How lovely, jaws agape, I'm on the case, looking for the finer things in life, like slumber in the middle of the night. Do your own thing, hombre. I got an idea. Let's make this clear. I'm getting my way.
I wish I could show my appreciation for this podcast. I wish I could respond to it somehow, or be notified in the future when
Fly Fidelity
updates, because it's so great. But I don't think there's a way I can do any of those things.
Uh-oh, you're wrong.
Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts and SoundCloud and never miss an episode. Find us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.
My peoples, are you with me where you at?